If you're thinking about starting GLP-1 medications to help you with intentional weight loss, but you're still a little bit on the fence and you think that there might be something that you still haven't tried before you actually jump on the medication, then this video is for you. Hi, my name's Clara. I'm a chartered psychologist, a healthcare professions council registered sport and exercise psychologist, and a fitness coach. And I've been helping people just like you move towards intentional weight loss from a compassionate, values-based perspective, helping them overcome a poor relationship with food, with exercise, and with themselves and with their bodies. And in this video, I want to address some of the important considerations from a psychological perspective that I think that you need to make before deciding whether to start GLP medications, or also if you've already started the medication, considerations that you can start to make now to make sure that when you come off them, you do not end up gaining all the way back. I've been in this job for over half a decade. In the last couple of years, I've helped nearly about a dozen people who've started working with me for a variety of reasons in relation to GLP-1s. And what that has looked like is preparing clients from a psychological perspective to start weight loss medication. It has been helping clients who've been working with me who have then started the weight loss medication. It has been helping clients who have started working with me when they've stopped taking the weight loss medication, and it's been helping clients who have started working with me as they were deciding to stop taking the medication and continued that journey from there. So I have quite a bit of experience in working with clients and GLP-1 medication. And there are three really important psychological considerations that I think every single person needs to make when deciding whether GLP-1s are for them, or when deciding how and when to come off the GLP-1 medications. The first thing is that you need to address your relationship with food, which I know sounds really obvious. And I'm going to make the assumption that maybe you haven't done this in a huge amount of depth. I'm not saying that it's enough sometimes for some people to address their relationship with food. However, if you have been using food as a means to soothe from your emotions, as a means to cope with life all the way up until this point, and then you start taking GLP-1 medication and suddenly your appetite is cut off or you feel a bit nauseous when you're eating food, then you're left without the one coping mechanism that you've always relied on to help with those emotions. What the hell are you going to do, right? You're going to struggle a lot to know how to cope if you don't have any other tools aside from food, because that tool has been basically like taken away, right? So it's really, really, really important that you address your relationship with food and that you start to develop better coping mechanisms to deal with the difficult thoughts, feelings, sensations, and experiences that up until this point, food has been supporting you with, or food has been helping you manage or numb or avoid or get rid of any of those, basically. And that's really important for before you start taking the GLP-1 medications, if you don't want to end up incredibly distressed when you are taking the medications. But it's also really important for when you decide to come off the medications, because for a lot of people, it's not intended to be a long-term permanent solution. It's something that can initiate intentional weight loss and give us the headspace and the lack of food noise to be able to actually build the habits that are going to be helpful for maintaining that weight loss afterwards. But if you've not dealt with the reasons for your emotional eating up until that point, should emotional eating be a contributing factor to your unintentional weight gain, then you're going to come off the medication, the food noise is going to be there, and you're going to find yourself again noticing that urge to soothe yourself with food, which obviously kind of defeats the purpose of having taken the medication in the first place. So do not skip working on your relationship with food. And if that's something that you need support with, then click the link in the description, because I can help you with that, irrespective of where you are on your GLP-1 journey. For some people, working on their relationship with food is enough to then help them see that they might not need the assistance of a GLP-1 medication, but not for everybody, and that's okay too. We've got to remember that at the end of the day, so much of our eating and our relationship with food and how we feel around food and how we feel hungry and how we feel satiated is underpinned by biological factors that we have actually got fuck all to do with, that we literally cannot control. And GLP-1 medications can be absolutely life-changing for so many people. Whether you're deciding whether to take GLP-1s or not, whether you're currently taking GLP-1s or whether you're deciding to come off the GLP-1s at the moment, another thing that you absolutely cannot avoid working on is your self-trust and your self-confidence. It is so important that you spend time addressing and building that self-respect for yourself, especially with the emphasis on the self-trust, because if you found yourself gaining an excess amount of weight unintentionally, it's likely that you have tried previously to lose weight and that it's ended up being that you've broken that promise to yourself about 1,000,000 times. You've ended up pressing the fuck it button, and you've ended up essentially, just telling yourself that you'll stop and restart so many times that, you've come to this point of deciding that maybe GLP-1s are the best solution for you moving forward, which they might as well be. However, if even in taking the medication, you're not making a concerted effort to build trust in your own habits and your own ability to regulate yourself around food, to build those habits, your mind is going to ascribe all of the weight loss success to the medication itself. You're not going to feel like you're learning anything, right? It's almost like you're going to pass on the the credit to the GLP-1 medications, you're still going to feel completely disempowered. And then when you come off the medication, you're going to feel like you can't do it without the medication. So it can create a bit of a dependency that might not necessarily be the most helpful nor the most sustainable thing for you moving forward. The same goes if you haven't started taking the medication yet. You have to start building a sense of self-trust and a sense of self-reliance. That can absolutely be done by addressing the psychology of why you keep self-sabotaging, why you keep pressing the fuck it button. And again, I do have a free 4-week course that you can download and complete completely for free that you might want to do before you decide, maybe like in a month's time, whether GLP-1s are for you or not. And again, the link is in the description if you want to give it a go. But building that self-trust is absolutely fundamental to your well-being, because if you don't, you might miss out on learning some of the fundamental skills that will help you maintain that weight loss, irrespective of whether you go on the medication, are on the medication right now, or decide to come off it at a later date. And I appreciate that I'm not going like super into depth with that. So if you do want me to make another video on that, please let me know in the comments below. And finally, and perhaps the most important thing that I think that you're going to have to do if you are thinking of going on GLP-1 medications, if you're on the fence, if you're not sure, if you're already on them, and or if you want to come off them, is you're going to have to build your ability to be compassionate and kind towards yourself, which I know is super cringe and is going to make you feel really like ugh and icky, because you've probably spent a lot of your life not liking yourself, not respecting yourself, speaking to yourself in a really negative way, whether that be in relation to how your body presents to the world or in relation to anything else. And that has probably been a massive contributing factor to why that, you know, self-sabotaging cycle has been, you know, perpetuated for so many years and so many times. And I believe that self-compassion is important, because often when we get ourselves tangled up in these cycles where we're using food to cope with negative emotions, it's because we don't feel good enough at our core. When we don't feel good enough at our core, we're more likely to set ourselves perfectionistic goals that maybe don't actually quite meet us where we're at, and feel, you know, to an extent a bit unattainable. But we set those goals because we imagine ourselves in that future state of success. And yet, because those goals are unattainable, we eventually encounter failure. But if our self-esteem is so low that failure feels intolerable, then in encountering that failure, we're going to want to avoid it, or we're going to want to get rid of that feeling of failure. And the way that we're going to do that is by eating food, because food is soothing. Food helps us feel better. And that's when we end up pressing the fuck it button and, you know, essentially going completely off piste and, yeah, feeling crap, criticizing ourselves so much so that when it comes to getting back on it again, we feel so distraught that we set even more perfectionistic goals, right? So actually being able to build your own self-compassion is so important. Being able to build your ability to tolerate failure, to tolerate like not perfection, is going to be absolutely fundamental if you want to lose weight, full stop. But especially if you're thinking of starting GLP-1 medications, because again, it's going to be so important that you realize and recognize that it doesn't have to be perfect, that good enough is good enough, and that punishing yourself by overeating is never going to be the kind thing to do, nor the helpful thing to do long term. So again, another thing that's going to be super helpful, irrespective of where you're at, is building that ability to be self-compassionate, and also your ability to cope with failure, which, to be fair, are one and the same thing. There is so much more that I wish everybody knew from a psychological perspective about GLP-1 medications. So again, if you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to pop them in the comments below. If you want me to make a video or anything else specific, or if you've got something or a lived experience that you'd like me to address in a bit more depth, or if you want me to address anything that I've said in this video in a bit more depth, do let me know. I'm more than happy to make those videos for you. I just want to be able to put some information out there that is helpful to support anybody who is thinking about going on GLP-1 medications, who is currently on them and maybe afraid of coming off them in case they gain weight again, or for anyone who's coming off them and is also petrified of that weight gain that so many people end up criticizing GLP-1 medication users for. That's all from me for this video though. Thank you so much for watching. As always, make sure that you subscribe to my channel to not miss the next video, and I look forward to seeing you then.